It seems that one of the reasons taxpayers spend close to $1.5 billion funding 2 public broadcasting outfits is so that publicly funded journalists can exercise their obsessions against News Corp, producing stories attacking commercial media operations. Here, for instance, the SBS, established to run multicultural media, spends its time and your money attacking News Corp for daring to criticise the Premier of Victoria, Daniel Andrews, and his Labor government. Just because the Andrews government sparked a deadly second coronavirus wave by bungling hotel quarantine, leading to more than 90% of all the COVID deaths in Australia, and just because it imposed stage 4 lockdown measures when expert epidemiologists argue the data showed the stage 3 restrictions had turned down the infection curve, and just because he imposed a curfew that neither his medical advisor nor police commissioner recommended, and just because all this has caused enormous social and economic dislocation as Victorians experience the toughest lockdowns in the world, well, just because all of this and the rejection of ADF help and the refusal to reveal who made all these decisions, just because all of this, apparently it's no reason to criticise a Labor Premier. SBS quotes a journalism academic, yes, that's a real job, saying, "I think they have seen an opportunity to damage a Labor Premier, and they're doing all that they can to do it." SBS also offers as evidence tweets from Labor supporters and an opinion poll conducted by and published in News Corp newspapers. Yes, according to SBS, the real victim of the COVID-19 pandemic in Australia is Daniel Andrews, and the real villain is News Corp. But what about the main public broadcaster? The ABC receives more than $1 billion a year, and this year it has cheered government as it's shovelled out more than $150 billion at least in borrowed money to support companies and industries through the pandemic recession. Extra billions have been spent on industry assistance packages for aviation, for hospitality and tourism, arts and entertainment, fisheries, agriculture, housing and construction. And there's been support for media too, where closures and job cuts have been high, including $41 million in tax relief for the commercial free-to-air television broadcasters, $50 million in grants for public interest news gathering, including regional media, $5 million to save Australian Associated Press, and a $10 million extension of an existing subsidy to Foxtel to cover women's, niche and underrepresented sport. Now, the ABC has applauded all this spending and more, all except one bit of it. Can you guess which one? Yep, it's Foxtel, presumably because it's majority owned by News Corp. Here it is. Although it was all announced in a press release in July, reporter Daniel Ziffer has dressed it up this month as some sort of scandal by quoting information he received through Freedom of Information laws to reveal that, shock, horror, in this economic emergency, with all those billions being shunted out the door in record time as jobs were being shed and businesses were being closed around the country, including at Foxtel, the decision to extend this existing program and maybe save some more jobs was made quickly. You don't say. That's the ABC for you. Economic pain around the country, jobs being shed at an unprecedented rate, and the ABC applauds all the help except the relatively tiny bit that might help News Corp. News Corp employees alone deserve unemployment, according to the ABC, as they continue with their guaranteed funding and, incredibly, in the middle of all this, vote on whether to give themselves a pay rise. Ziffer did the yarn for television too and acknowledged that Foxtel did not get what it asked for.
While receiving additional grant funding, Mr Delaney is not receiving everything he requested in his letter.
We rarely get to see this in the open. The exercise of power and the heft of the media moguls. Taxpayers funding multi-million-dollar contracts that have never gone to competitive tender.
Hang on a second, it's a bit rich to talk about tenders, isn't it? Remember less than a decade ago when this very station won a tender process for Australia's government overseas television service, And the Labor government didn't like the result, so they ran the tender again. Sky News won the second tender too, and Labor then just ignored both tender processes and gave the contract to the ABC. We're still awaiting the ABC expose on that one. It might be your tax dollars, but it truly is their ABC.